Welcome back to the Fiercely Fueled podcast. Today's episode is with two fabulous Fiercely Fueled coaches, Pia Marangoni and Joni Voss. They will be talking about how to maximize a coaching relationship. So whether this is a relationship with a nutrition coach, a strength coach, a life coach, any other type of coach out there, one of the questions that we get asked a lot as coaches is, how do I make the most of this relationship? How do I utilize your information? How much information do you need from me? So listen in as Joni and Pia break down how to get the most out of a coaching relationship. I hope you enjoy it.
Hey everyone, Coach Joni here and Coach Pia. How you doing, Pia?
Yeah. Hey, good. Thanks to you, Joni. Nice to be here.
Yes, I'm excited. So we are talking about how to get the most out of your coaching. So obviously as coaches, we know it's a very collaborative experience. It's a relationship. And so, there's certain points when entering into that relationship, it's good to cover so that you are getting the most out of your coaching. So Pia, how are you feeling about that?
Yeah. I'm really excited about this because, I'm going to just broaden this discussion to a little bit broader than just the kind of coaching we do, but I think the principles are fairly similar. Is that up until 5 or 6 years ago, I hadn't ever had a coach for anything. Other than out of like junior school. And, I had this view of this coach being this kind of, and they are in many ways like authority figures. They know a lot, but, I had this concept in my mind of what a coach should be. And when I started working with a coach, I was like, oh, this is really different, So I think for me, I was fortunate to be exposed to really fantastic people and be able to learn from them. But, the one thing that I did learn is that it is, we were speaking about this a bit earlier, it's very collaborative. It's a relationship. It's while one person may know a bit more than another person, it has to be a two-way street, So that's kind of the thing that is sticking out for me in terms of what is coaching, and why do we get coaches? Maybe we can just talk a bit about that because that's also really interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah. Obviously people get coaches for a variety of reasons. And the thing that we kind of discussed prior here is that what you were doing previously wasn't working for you. We get caught up in our own behaviors and our own habits and cycles in life. And sometimes we need that outside objective observer to come in and kind of take a look at things and teach you some new skills and some new habits there. So a big takeaway of that is, also coming into it with a growth mindset and being flexible and realizing that it is a collaboration.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And, you're investing money and you also need to invest time. So one of our other coaches brought up a great point that you can't just throw money at it either. You have to be involved and a part of the process, because as coaches, it's not just being completely outsourced. It's us working with you to achieve a goal.
Mm-hmm. And I think that is, that kind of circles back to what I said. And let's go back to having a growth mindset, both as clients and coach. As coaches, we don't know it all. We also are constantly learning and learning to. There's new evidence. We get more experience. We're more exposed to other coaches, other people, other influencers. But coming back to this growth mindset, it's about helping, people cultivate this kind of curiosity about what's going on and learning to see things in a bit of a different way. Something, life isn't black and white. As a matter of fact, black and white doesn't exist. We only ever have shades of gray. Excuse the analogy, but let's talk about how, what does it mean to have a growth mindset? What does that mean for coaching? Because not often, I've had a few clients that have come in and they've said, well, okay, I'm not getting where I want to be. Oftentimes it's weight loss goals, but then they tell me what their macros are. And you're kind of like, well, okay, we need to make a change, and they resist the change. And I get that. And that's normal. Resistance is a very normal part of change, and we expect that and we work through it. But, if, there's kind of like there's a tension there, because you're looking for help, but you're not open to the help. You're kind of fixed on something. So I don't know, maybe you can tell me, your insights on that, and, that fixed versus growth mindset, and how we can evolve ourselves to be more growth mindset orientated as it relates to coaching.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think first off, it's weird to learn as an adult. Like, I went through my nutrition coaching like in my 40s. So it can be, in theory, it sounds great. Like, yeah, I'm going to learn a new skill. I'm going to do something different. But as an adult, to learn something, or especially when it comes to nutrition, relearn a lot of things can be really challenging. Or unlearn, because growing up through different decades, we've seen all these fluctuations within the nutrition space of changing, like, this is bad, this is good. And it can be overwhelming and confusing. And these old like ideas and habits can stick with you. And I've had so many clients where they're like, it's really hard to get out of this mindset, especially like the idea of eating more. Like that's really hard, especially for, our female clientele. It's like, to get the idea of eating more and possibly seeing that scale go up, that's a big push. So realizing that having a growth mindset is a process. It's not like clicking a switch and all of a sudden you're like this pliable, moldable brain, that it's an uncomfortable kind of push and pull process of being able to kind of objectively look at the information coming in. And if you feel yourself kind of balking at something, it's stopping being like, okay, why does that make me uncomfortable? What is that butting up against that makes it feel, that way? And starting to kind of, lean into it. Because if you can identify why things feel the way they feel, or why you're kind of hitting a wall on something, and start to objectively break that down, it helps you problem solve. And we touched on earlier before we started recording, like, as adults, we kind of get into routines. We got our flow, we handle a lot of things, we got a lot on our plate, but having to really dissect and problem solve a lot of things isn't always an everyday thing.
Especially things that's kind of widely accepted and taken for granted. On one hand, we have great problem solving ability. If there's a traffic jam, you can kind of figure out another route to work. We can do that. But so many things are so deeply ingrained that we just don't question them, and in society in general, I think people need to question things. And, but when something is so deeply ingrained, where it's not even conscious, it's habitual. It's, so often these patterns exist before we have to bring them into consciousness to even become aware of them. We don't know about them. That becomes a lot harder to do. And oftentimes it's nutrition is a bit of a tricky coaching subject, I guess, in a way, because you kind of can't not eat, right? You have to eat.
Right.
So you can't ever get away from it. And there's so many other things around eating, cultural, religious, all of these beliefs, which are so deep that we need to challenge, that may or may not be valid. But, I think the thing is knowing that, coupled with the fact that everyone is different, and we respond differently to training stimulus. Some people need more food. Some people need less food, probably because of a history of chronic dieting. But so this is a very complicated confluence, which is taking me back to so how do we work with our clients? And right back to what you said in the beginning is we kind of have like a broad set of, like we know that someone will respond in this way, or this is a typical thing that happens when you cut carbs, or, we kind of have a playbook of how things should be, but we don't know how you will be. And we don't know how things, so a lot of this particular journey is listening and distilling the feedback from this particular person that we're working with to fine tune things, and adapt things and make things livable for them. Now, we can only do that if we have the information that we need. Now, I had someone once send me 82 screenshots of his food diary, which was great. That's not necessarily what I'm talking about, but the more you can communicate with your coach, the more we can help you, because it's not only about setting macros. It's not only about helping you sleep. So if, for example, you have I've had a client who's had a baptism. Now that's a very important religious event for the family. And there was so much anxiety around food, because she wanted to, and like, we need to be able to work within these parameters of what's important to you and what you need to do in your life. And in order to do that, we need you to come to the party. So not only to be open and try the things that we're asking you to try, but also kind of just give us a little bit of context to your life and how things interplay, And I want to say everybody struggles, but everybody does struggle, because if you didn't struggle, you wouldn't be working with us. You wouldn't have a coach. So let's just put that out there as well. It's very normal to feel this resistance. It is. It's really normal.
Yeah, absolutely. And as coaches, we're helping shape your behavior. So we can give you numbers, but those don't mean anything if when you get into real life, you can't apply them. Because even if we ask you, hey, incorporate more protein, that may mean you suddenly have to go to the grocery store maybe more frequently. You have to allot time to prep food. What is that going to shove around in your current schedule? You want to start eating breakfast. That means you have to go to bed earlier. What does, that look like for your evening routine? So it's these little seemingly small drop in the bucket things that are actually shaping your entire environment. And then as coaches, when you're giving us information, because we will suggest something, and if it's not working, let us know, because it's your life. We don't know what you're competing with, in your world. So if you can tell us what that is, we can help you problem solve that, because it's the big adjustments for small things. And I think coming into coaching, what can be really helpful is finding out kind of your deep meaning of why you are going into coaching. Yeah. It can be, I want to, get more out of my training. Well, why do you value that training so much? What does that mean for you? And kind of digging into that intrinsic motivation a little more so that you have something more solid to enter into coaching with, because things are going to get rough. There's going to be a big learning curve there. And I think often the learning curve can get underestimated. And especially when you're first starting that coaching relationship, it is a slow warm up. There has to be, a lot of information taken in there over time, because we need that feedback of what this looks like in your life, and we're not going to know until that time occurs. So there's that kind of build up there for that to occur.
Right. And and life changes. So we may get it right for a few months, and then your partner needs to work in another state, or kid moves out, or someone has a baby, or, so that's also, we need, I always say to my clients, we need to flow like water, but sometimes it's very difficult to do that in the middle of something. And, I think also with the information that we have, we can help guide where the friction is. And sometimes I'll say to my clients, okay, this week, your job is to stay alive. So we're not tracking. You just need to drink water and eat your food and sleep. That's it, And sometimes it's like, it's these difficult conversations with, you are a high level, international level athlete. And I really think that you should consider maybe not doing this thing 2 or 3 weeks out from this meet, which you're not, you're battling to make weight for, so sometimes, it's different things for different people. But I just wanted to say is that I never, ever want my clients to feel shame or guilt when they haven't been able to do something, because all it is information. And often I used to, I don't think I've ever told Kristen this. I used to sometimes want to lie on my macros because I'd eaten more fats than I wanted to eat. And I was like, no, I can't tell her this, and I really had this internal battle with, I'm ashamed of myself because I haven't been able to do this thing that should be so easy. That's a different discussion. And then this other part of me is like, well, if she doesn't know what's going on, she can't help me. So I had, okay, I managed to resolve this, but that's my, it's a silly, but potentially valid, well, it is valid, but this is sometimes how shame can play out. Maybe we don't speak to our coaches because we feel embarrassed that we haven't done the thing that we said we were going to do. But for me, that's all that's telling me is that, okay, maybe this action is a bit too overwhelming at this point in time. Maybe this action that we're trying to get you to do is not going to be as useful as something else, or maybe you're not as connected to your why as you want to be or you think you should be, and we might need to dig into that. So, no information is just as relevant and just as useful to us than full information. So I always say to my clients, if you don't get to log everything or, send, one liner is still a check-in. I still know what's going on. If you're like, I have COVID this week, I'm not functioning, I know what's going on. Cool, I can work with that, But if you ghost me for a month, I can't help you.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I feel if anybody listening is one of our clients, the daily notes in our app, I absolutely love those. And my clients that fill those out, I feel like tend to get the most out of their coaching, because it may seem arbitrary as a client to just kind of look at it and be like, I don't know, here's my macro numbers. But giving us daily notes like, hey, busy day at work, or I wasn't feeling well today, dinner out with friends, I had a great time. Those are immensely helpful for us as a coach. One, that gives us a picture of your life and what you're facing from day to day. And two, if anything's funky in your data, like your weight or your sleep or something like that, and I can scroll down into those daily notes and be like, oh, okay, they had a really stressful day at work. This is where that bum night of sleep came from.
Right.
So.
Yeah. I mean, like, sorry, I'm just having a giggle because I just did a check-in, and this client who's listening, he'll know who he is. But he gives me such good daily notes. And the best part about it, if you zoom out, sometimes, we zoom out and we look at our data in a longer view. It's like, it reads like this kind of stream of consciousness conversation. And what's really awesome for me is I see the change in mindset from, being like really cross with himself because he hasn't hit macros, to just kind of going, okay, it's a difficult day, going to learn about this, I'm going to do better tomorrow, to like, it's, so not only for me, I mean, he's got a great sense of humor, so he always makes me giggle, but, you can also pick up a lot about somebody's state of mind, which is also kind of really important in what we do with the client, because if someone is really sad or just depressed, or maybe we need to play things a bit differently to if somebody's really stressed and overwhelmed versus happy and thriving. I mean, we all want our clients to thrive, but I think you get my meaning. But back to your point is, they can be really useful, really, really useful. Like, I mean, and clients, you don't have, if you're not doing it, you don't have to do it. If you feel moved to do it, like, you don't have to, it's optional, but it's useful. So like every now and again, you don't have to write me essays. I mean, you can if you want, but terms, conditions, and rules apply.
Absolutely. And everybody has a different communication style. And I think that kind of coincides with a good point as well, is find a coach that you can vibe with. You don't have to be besties with them, but if you can, you hear somebody and you kind of connect with them, or you find a company like Fiercely Fueled and you're like, I really like what their kind of ethos is, and that's something I connect with. That's a great sign. If you are kind of trying to communicate to your coach and it just kind of seems like it's falling on deaf ears, or you're just, it is that relationship, that push-pull, but still it has to be a cohesive relationship, and finding a coach that you can connect with is really important. Someone that understands your communication style, what you need. If you find someone that's like, it's my way or the highway, well, then they don't have a growth mindset themselves. So how are they going to help you as a coach?
Exactly. I love, the like-mindedness, so I guess, you need this connection on some level. There needs to be some resonance. Otherwise it's just data and it's very kind of clinical. I mean, you can kind of get away, but that's not the game we're in. That's not coaching. That's AI, right? But it's also, like, one of the reasons that we feel having a coach is helpful, or I have a coach is helpful, is I am not objective in my own life, right? I see life again, we were talking about this in the podcast that we should have recorded before this. But I see my life through the lens of my own experience. I can't see it any other way because I haven't been exposed to any other way. Likewise, your coach is seeing the world through their lens of experience. And hopefully it's they're growing and it's broad. And I feel a lot of my clients add value to the way I see the world. But sometimes just having a common connection through the two lenses, like for me, for some reason, many of my clients love the fact that I'm a competitive powerlifter. So that's our common points. We are very different on all other counts, leading very, very different lives. But we have this one thing in common that allows us to connect and share experiences, and I think, your coach should connect with you on some level. I really think they should. And you know what? It's okay if you don't. Not everyone connects with everyone, and that's okay.
Yeah,
but you won't
absolutely.
know till you try.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great point. And, we all come from different walks of life. We all have different learning histories, and being cognizant of that as you come into the coaching experience, realizing you have your own set of life experiences and learning history, and the coach also has the same. And so being able to kind of meet at the table and present those things together can really help both of us, like you said, learn a lot more, because as coaches, we have to learn to work with a variety of different people, a variety of different learning styles, communication styles, personalities, and what have you. And, that has to make us be flexible as well. So when you are looking for a coach, that's really something to look out for as well, is someone that also is like flexible, has worked with a variety of people, is excited about working with a lot of people. I'm sure you feel the same, Pia. That's one of the awesome things about being a coach, is meeting so many different people and interacting with so many different people, hearing so many different life stories, seeing different perspectives, and just really enjoying that person to person aspect, even though we're online, you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Totally. Yeah. Yeah. Like we're all connected through this common thing. I've got many clients in the US. I have clients in Japan, in Australia, Thailand. It's that for me is like really exciting, because there is so much to learn, and it broadens my experience of people, The one thing that we can't get away from, no matter who you are, where you are, is, again, circling back to what we need from you, is you can't outsource the problems you're trying to solve. And I have some extremely high profile, wealthy clients that are very powerful heads of organizations. And I have people who are in, different jobs that don't require any engagement or any other kind of, you want to call it organizational power, if you want to call it that. And, the work that they have to do is the same. So it doesn't matter who you are or what you do or how much you earn. And back to your point, is you can't just outsource this problem. If you can't just put money on it. If you have lots of money, that's great, because you still have to do the work. It's like barbell training. Is you can't fake the work. You can't just kind of pay a trainer tons of money and say, make me strong. It's not going to happen. You've got to go and put weight on that bar and do the work. Doesn't matter who you are and where you come from. And I think that sometimes people's approach to like engaging with coaching is in some way shaped with their work environments, and they get a bit of a shock when they kind of have to do stuff themselves,
Like as coaches, like that's one of the biggest ways we help you, is designing a roadmap to get you to your goal faster and kind of expedite the learning process, because we have, and this sounds cocky, but, we have the experience and we have the knowledge behind us specifically to help you get to that goal faster. So we can help you design that roadmap that'll apply easily to your life to get you there faster. So you don't have to just kind of beat your head against the wall and continuously run in a circle trying to figure things out. So even clients of mine that would seem pretty nutritionally knowledgeable in the world come into coaching and they're like, wow, I'm learning so much. They're asking questions. They're like, what's this? What's that? And that's awesome. And they're like, gosh, I'm learning so much. So we as coaches can help expedite that process for you and give you these knowledge and tools. Because if we've done our jobs as coaches, you're going to feel confident and empowered to move on and up and out, should that be your choice. We're happy to coach you for the rest of your life if you want, but we also, want you to feel enabled, empowered to be able to go out on your own at some point. Everybody learns at a different speed and comfort level, but, that's one of the huge benefits of having a coach is a learning process. And then kind of approaching and thinking about that as well as it's an investment, not just in your health. And obviously that's a huge one. It's a big investment there, but also in educating yourself and learning and gaining a lot of tools. And I think just like lifting, a lot of us coaches are lifters, a lot of our listeners and clients are lifters. We know that we learn so much from the process of lifting and training. And the same as for nutrition. We learn a lot about ourselves. And I think a lot of lifters know we learn a lot about, our emotions, how we operate. We learn a lot of internal stuff, and the same for nutrition, because food is very emotional.
It is.
A lot of times it's a really quick self-soothing item. Like it's immediately gratifying. So it's really easy for that. Yeah. It's easy to fall into that. So having a nutrition coach that can kind of objectively look at things, objectively look at your data and your life and things like that, you can learn a lot about yourself and how you operate, function, and cope with things.
I mean, and also, your coach, I always say to my clients is it's not in my best interest to have you not achieve your goal. Okay. Cause we are invested, I kind of have said to a few of my clients, there are some things which I feel may be very unhelpful. Some things I feel that we need to, like problems you may not think it's a problem, but I think it would be a better starting point, a healthier starting point mentally, physically, and sometimes you may be surprised by what you get back, right? I had one client who, like you were saying, we picked up some patterns related to emotional eating. And she turned around and she said, "Oh, well, that's really interesting. I never thought of that. That's been going on my whole life. I need to solve that problem." And she's gone away and she's done some work with someone who's qualified to help her. And she's made a massive shift in her life. Now, that is really cool, And so, like, sometimes things come up, and I think this is maybe where we maybe differ, well, maybe not so much, but from other types of barbell coaches or, strength coaches, is that sometimes the problems we need to solve are other problems, not just about macros and not just about how much sleep you're getting. But if you're open to it, I think it can be a huge path of learning and improving your life. Like, to go back to what we said, is people don't work with us because they've got it all sorted. They work with us because they're struggling to get it all sorted. There's so much information that's confusing. It's overwhelming. We believe in what we do, but the new data becomes available all the time. So we're constantly growing and evolving. But, so now you've got someone who's kind of distilled things into bite-sized pieces for you. But the opportunities for personal growth and personal mastery, you don't know what's in that Pandora's box until you kind of take the plunge, right? And that's exciting to see how people really do flourish if they need to heal their relationship with food and start eating and start getting strong, it's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. As someone that came from a disordered eating past and really struggled with their relationship with food and body image and things like that, it's a long road, and gosh, in hindsight, I wish I had had a coach and something like Fiercely Fueled around, thankfully. And this time there's a lot more quality information out there, but it can be challenging to filter out what is quality and what's not, who has your best interest and who's trying to make $1 out of you.
Right.
And, that's also something to take into consideration it is what it is with the nutrition industry. And we have to, as a consumer, you have to look at, okay, what is this person and or company's motivation? And what are they trying to get out of me? Granted, yes, we're a business, But at the end of the day, we're not going to compromise on our ethics to make another dollar. We want our clients to be successful. We thrive when they thrive. So that's that collaboration again. So as you're looking out maybe for a coach or looking into nutrition, it's looking at, who's behind that? Why are they behind that? And dissecting that, because that's what's going to put you on the strongest and safest path for you as a consumer as well.
And don't be afraid to ask your coach what their why is,
Yeah, absolutely. And ask them questions. And if your coach, nutrition or otherwise, can't give you a reason why they're having you do something, then they don't know. And they're just guessing. Like, they should always be able to give you a theory or an idea of why they're doing something. You should be able to ask questions. They should be happy to give you an answer as to why, so be inquisitive. And if somebody tries to squash that, that's probably not the person for you.
Yeah. Then ask yourself why.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Why am I doing this?
Well, we probably all ask ourselves that every day, but not
every day. Yeah, every day. Mostly in relation to my deadlift, but anyway.
Me and my bench. Why am I doing this? You're still so sad.
Aw. Maybe my bench and your bench can have a pity party.
Oh, it'll be great. It'll be the saddest party ever.
Ever. It'll be so fun. Okay. Take that out. Cool.
Well, I feel like we could just chat about this, but I think we got a pretty good collection of ways to get the most out of your coaching and kind of approach coaching. And if you're considering getting a coach, I think I just said that word 5 times. We're here to answer your questions. We're here to help you. And other than that, we hope you guys enjoyed the podcast.
Thanks for listening. We look forward to chatting soon. Thank you so much, Joni. Okay.
Bye. Have a good one, everyone.
You too. Bye.
If you like the show, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to my free email newsletter at guide.fiercelyfueled.com/podcast. In addition to updates, articles, and behind-the-scenes tips from my team and I, my email newsletter subscribers also get my pre- and post-training meals guide to help you position yourself to get stronger faster than you ever thought possible. You can get it all for free at guide.fiercelyfueled.com/podcast. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Fiercely Fueled Nutrition. And lastly, this show is meant to make the strength world a better, stronger, and healthier place. Please share it with your friends and subscribe to the show.